New Japan Pro Wrestling appears to be talking to a former WWE superstar. This potential signing could be very shocking. We're going to talk about who that is in just a little bit. Also, we have been talking about TNA losing stars as of late, but we now know they have re-signed 3 stars. I'm going to talk about why it's a good thing. And yes, we are going to talk about a major return set to happen at WWE, but no, it is not happening on the debut episode of Netflix. With that being said, welcome to the Ango Show. All right, y'all, I want to just give you guys a quick reminder. We will be live immediately after Raw on Netflix. The live post shows are back. Me and Billy TKO will be breaking down the episode of Raw, giving you guys our post-game analysis. And of course, we will be engaging with the chat. So if you guys pull up, it's going to be a badass time. You're not going to want to miss it. I want to kick things off with some very good news surrounding TNA. Ash by Elegance, Masha Slamovich, and John Skyler have all re-signed with TNA Wrestling. And this was first reported by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. Guys, this is massive news, really, for TNA. You know, some of you might look at these names and say, oh, Masha Slamovich is not that big of a deal. Ash by Elegance is not that big of a deal. John Skyler is not that big of a deal. But it actually is, because we know that there are going to be some key departures in TNA. And what TNA does that is so good is sometimes they don't bring in the most notable names or the most famous wrestlers, but they bring in talent who belong on their product and do a good job of contributing to their product, which makes it much more enjoyable for me to watch. We saw Dana Brooke in WWE. Now we see her in TNA. The Ash by Elegance thing has actually been pretty damn awesome, and TNA hasn't rushed her to become a world champion yet. So eventually I think that time will come, but yeah, it's not like TNA just said, oh, look, you're from WWE, here's the title belt. They didn't do that. And Masha Slamovich is one of the best in the world, honestly. She's incredibly skilled. Her run in TNA has been absolutely incredible. I was there at Bound for Glory when her and Jordan Grace put on together a masterpiece. So, you know, Masha Slamovich being part of the TNA Knockouts division is great. A lot of people often think that Masha Slamovich would probably go to AEW because she could fit in their style. So when I see TNA retain her, I just think it's definitely some good stuff. And look, I'm going to be pretty honest with you guys. I think one of the big things that people aren't talking about is retaining talent is a big deal. If every single person left your company, that's pretty telling. So I feel like TNA has done a good job of also retaining talent, despite the fact that they might have a few key departures. And really, I think the best part for TNA here is that there's rumors that they're going to have some key signings coming soon. We'll see what those signings are. But, you know, they're trying to be pretty aggressive this year in the sense of growing their company and TV deals and everything like that. So definitely some good stuff to expect there. And just a little hint, there is some TV deal news coming soon. So make sure you guys are subscribed for that. That brings us to Goldberg. Okay, so we know that he was going to be part of WWE. We just didn't necessarily know exactly how they were going to go about doing it. He's not appearing on the debut episode of Netflix, which is tonight, which again, I'll be live for after the show. But Dave Meltzer is reporting that Goldberg is expected to be on the 4th episode of Raw on Netflix, which is expected to take place from Atlanta, Georgia. And this will obviously be on January 27th. It is not confirmed, obviously, but it is believed that WWE will do another angle to make the match official with Gunther. Now, this is the part of the report that I don't necessarily know if I agree with. Obviously, they planted the seeds between Goldberg and Gunther, but there was also reports and rumors that WWE was not going to do that. Regardless of what they do, I do believe that Goldberg will return on that episode. It makes sense. It's Atlanta, Georgia. WWE will do that. He's from Atlanta. We saw him at Bad Blood. We'll see what his retirement tour looks like. We know that he's expected to have 2 matches. This is where it gets really interesting, because do they waste one of the matches on Gunther? Could make a lot of sense. It honestly could make a lot of sense. But do they go for him and Braun Breaker? Like, who do they have retire Goldberg? I don't know. But I think those are very interesting questions to ask. There's a lot going on in WWE right now. And believe it or not, this whole Goldberg thing truly isn't even that big of a deal at the moment, considering we got John Cena's farewell tour. We got this Bloodline stuff happening, the new women's mid-card title belts. You know, there's just so many good things currently happening on WWE television that initially, when I think of Goldberg coming back, I don't think of it as the biggest priority. But obviously, WWE does. WWE does treat his return with priority, and I get it, man. WWE doesn't want that issues with Goldberg. We knew that Goldberg at one point was considering doing stuff with AEW, and then we've seen his comments about AEW and Tony Khan. You know, obviously he was really pissed off and angry with Vince. And I think for Goldberg, honestly, the way that I kind of look at this is with Goldberg going to WWE and having his retirement matches, that's it. Like, you get it out of the way and that's it. But if it's coming to the point where his return is going to take away TV time from rising stars, or it's going to hurt a rising star, that's when I personally have a little bit of an issue with it. So I would like to think that in this particular case, have Goldberg lose to Gunther and have him lose to Braun Breaker, and I'm totally cool with that. You put over two of your stars, not a big deal at all. And from that point of view, it makes sense. Now, if Goldberg is going over everybody, I'm not really that interested in it. And that brings us to our final topic of today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Baron Corbin is in talks with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, I found this to be really, really interesting. Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp had reported that NJPW has shown interest in Baron Corbin. It was said that both sides have been in contact, but Fightful isn't necessarily sure how deep those talks are. So obviously that's why we have this big question mark as to whether or not NJPW is signing this former WWE star. But Baron Corbin going to New Japan Pro Wrestling is actually a really good idea. I think a lot of the smart marks on the internet don't really understand how good this guy actually is. But Baron Corbin really did a great job with his character work, and he actually did really good with his in-ring work, but he was doing things much more like the old school way. He wasn't trying to pop the crowd with his in-ring ability. He was really trying to tell a story with his in-ring ability, which I respect a lot. And I actually think Baron Corbin going to New Japan, you'll definitely see some bangers there. I think ideally, because of how good he is, I would love to see him in TNA, and I have been saying that as of late. I would love to see Baron Corbin go to TNA. The good news is, if he goes to TNA or goes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, he could technically work with both companies because of that partnership that they have. So it would be really interesting to see the dynamic of that. But when you look at Baron Corbin, I think this guy could be a really good babyface. I think he could be even a better heel. And of course, you know, look at TNA. You got Joe Hendry chasing the belt. You got Frankie Kazarian being a heel. It wouldn't be a bad idea to bring in Baron Corbin. And then, of course, with TNA and New Japan working together, you can always have Baron Corbin head out over there. Either way, I would love to see this happen, and I think it will happen. I think it's very clear that Baron Corbin could be on his way to a new wrestling company this year, and we'll see what it looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, live immediately after Raw will be live. You're not going to want to miss it, and I'll see you guys next time.
Turn it up, the Ango show, here we go. Rumor mill spin, every little sin. What's the new fallout? Who took a route out? Fans scream loud, make the show proud. Backstage drama, full of armor. Who's the charmer? Tag teams break dreams, plots